Hello everyone and welcome to another 12 by 12 scrapbook layout process video. You can see I've got some outdoor photos here of a hike that I did with the creative design team girls while we were in Vancouver. And I do have a bit of a story about this hike that we went on. And I have a lot of photos that I want to scrapbook for this adventure, and it's not all going to make it onto a double page spread. But today I have 14 photos that I want to get within this scrapbook layout. And I'm going to walk you through my choices of pattern paper and also how I'm going to introduce the other 8 photos onto this layout. You can see I've got them laid out pretty much how I want them to appear on my double page spread, and I have selected some wood grain paper from Country Woods from Stampin' Up. I was going to do my usual scrapbook them on white, but this paper is absolutely gorgeous, and I did go through the whole Country Woods papers and finally settled on this one. There are some gorgeous papers in here. They're double-sided. If I wanted a lighter look, I could put my photos onto here, but I just felt like the deeper side would work better. Similarly, there's this side. This was a close contender, and I did nearly choose that one. I've got 6x4 photos here that are printed with a border, and I've got 2 5x7s as well. But I liked the evenness of the texture of this wood grain with so many photos that I'm going to be using. There is a darker wood grain again than this one, which is a gorgeous rich colour, and this would offset the photos really well. And I was having trouble deciding which wood grain pattern I'd work with. I love the deepness of this, but I'm going to save this for another layout. And as I said before, I think I'm going to end up with 3 double page spreads of this walk, or at least 2 double page spreads, because I've got the suspension bridge photos and I've got waterfall photos as well. Now I could build this straight onto this wood grain paper and make a really quick and easy layout, put in a title, put in some journaling, and my photos would be scrapbooked. But I wanted to bring in a bit of a lighter colour, and I've gone back into my stash of papers and I have this sage wash type paper. I want to use it the same way the wood grain's running. I don't want to have opposing lineal designs here, but I thought to lighten up this wood grain, I might use this paper as a background, and I'm going to gut the middle out so that I can match some of these photos. So I'm just going to put another piece over this side just to have a little look, and I think that brings the brightness that's needed to the photos. It just lifts it a little bit. And I'm not going to cut into this piece. I actually have a third piece here, but I'm thinking if I matte some of the photos with this textured paper, I think it's from Hope and Kindness that Close to My Heart put out. Maybe it was the year before last, 2023. I really can't remember, but it's a good heavyweight paper, and there's like a burlap finish on the other side, but I sort of like the wash here. And I think this is going to brighten up my photos quite a bit. And then I might use a piece of this to stamp my title on as well. So after all of that paper movement and trying to decide what I was going to use, I think I've settled on this. I really like how this touch of sage in the background just brings a softer feel to this. So I'm going to gut out the middle of these papers here. You do need a trimmer where you can place the blade up a little bit. So I usually do about 1 inch, and I go all the way around, and then I'm going to create photo mats out of the middle of this. So while I do this first one, this hike was a little bit funny. I really can't believe that I managed to do the whole walk. Julie said to me, because she knows I have a bad knee, she said to me, "Don't worry, it's flat. It's an easy walk from the car park." So these photos are from Lynn Canyon, and we parked the car, and instead of going straight to the suspension bridge, we didn't really look at a map. We just started walking, and I'm so glad that we did, because the scenery was absolutely beautiful. I loved seeing all of these beautiful, large, straight, tall trees, but there were a lot of ups and downs to this. Lots of steps going up and down, lots of paths that went up and down, and I'm so happy that we did this because it was a bit of an adventure, an absolutely awesome area to walk through. And it made it even more fun because there were 7 of us here that did this together. So this was really, really cool. I really enjoyed every step. I'm going to bring in the other photos in a moment because I want to line them up on how I'm adding the extra ones. What I'm going to do is trim this down 3/4 of an inch So that will give me an 11 1/4 by 11 1/4 mat to go on top of my bases here. I'm going to make sure I line this up properly. It will also allow for a nice amount of this sage paper to show through. So I'm going to do that again with the second piece. So I'm just going to lay this out again. I'm trying to be a little bit strategic with how I place my photos. Some of them are going to go over the edge of this mat. What I might end up doing is trimming a little bit off the edge of all these white printed borders because it's a little bit too much with this pattern paper. And where this one goes off into the edge of here, I'm going to make this one at the bottom do the same. And I'm just going to bring in the other photos that I'm going to add. I've got a 6 by 8 pocket page here. And I've put the photos in. You can see by these photos, there are a lot of stairs, a lot of ups and downs. This photo here I absolutely love, but it was quite steep actually. So it was a little bit of a challenging hike for me. So it was quite funny that Julie kept assuring me that it was supposed to be flat to the suspension bridge and to look out over the water. But I'm so glad that we went the long way because we actually got to see 2 waterfalls while we did this, and it was a lot of fun. You can see me halfway down here, I'm going, yeah, I'm okay, and taking photos. It was just such fun. The good thing about traveling with a group of people who love taking photos is that I have all of these photos of me that I wouldn't normally have. So I've got one photo to add to the back here. This is Julie and I finally made it up to the top, and after doing a big loop from the car park all the way around and doing this hiking, we were basically back to where the car park was, and the path to the Lynn Canyon suspension bridge was basically here. And yes, it was a straight path if we had gone this way, but of course we went on a little adventure and it was just so much fun. But the thing I wanted to show you was a 6 by 8 pocket page usually comes with just 3 holes. So I've had to put another hole in here. I've just marked it off and used a regular single hole punch so that it will line up with my top load memory protectors. Now I am going to slide this underneath here so I've got an idea of where I want to position my photos. I'm going to put my 6 by 8 over top, and I don't want this to be a little bit awkward by putting a photo like this and just having the tops of our heads here. So I'm going to make sure that this one comes up a fair way. And the same thing when I flip this over and go to the other side. I want to make sure that when I put this one down, I've got this greenery here rather than people cut off in half. So I am going to be intentional about where I adhere these 2 top photos. They're going to be the first ones that I adhere down, and then I'll build the others around that. So I've got the white trimmed down a little bit on all of these photos, and I think that looks much nicer. And then I've also matted these 5 by 7 photos with some of the inside pieces from this sage paper here. I've got all my photos adhered, and what I've decided to do was create a little pocket for my journaling. So I've made a little tag here and I've stamped "Here's the Story" on it. I'll go through all the stamp sets that I've used in a moment because I've got some stamping that I'm going to bring in. And when I decided to do that, I hand cut the tag, and then from the buildable tags that close to my heart there's a little reinforcer ring there. So I've cut one of those out of the wood paper and I've put a 1/4 inch strip across the bottom here, and I haven't typed this up yet. I think I'm going to type the story, and I'll probably need to go on the back, so I'll cut another little reinforcer there and then I'll put my twine through it. So you can see that only goes down to here. So I put foam tape all the way around here, some underneath this bit, and a strip along behind this here so that it would stop and not fall all the way through to the bottom. And now I'm going to dress up the rest of this because I think I need to break up some of the wood paper because it's looking a little bit heavy. So I've cut these at 1.5 by 5 inches, and I'm going to use those as little tab areas on the edges of these photos here, just to balance it out and bring a little bit more of the green pattern paper in. And I'm going to do some stamping direct onto here. So let me just move this aside. I'm going to bring in some scratch paper here. And I think before I stamp the title piece, I'm going to stamp a row of these trees here. Now, this is Forever Forest. I did get the dies as well for this. And I'm going to do more than just stamp this little section here with it. So this is a cling stamp. If you haven't used one of these before, it's basically a red rubber stamp, and you do need to push them out of the housing here. So you just take that out like that. If you haven't done this before, it's quite easy to do. You need to remove this piece from the back, and you can leave it just like this and it will adhere to the stamp block. But you can also put the sticker on here. You can see the stickers here. Now on one side of these, you'll see that there is a little slit here. You just need to peel that away. And then it's quite easy just to line your stamp up in this area here, because there's a little outline to follow. And you just push the stamp onto there. And I like to give it a really good rub over to make sure that it's adhered really well. And then when you peel that back, you've got the image there. Now, it's not quite the same as using a photopolymer block, and the labels are here for every single one of these sets. I won't do them all now on camera for you, but you've got the idea with that. You know that when you're stamping that, you've got an idea of where the outline is. And I didn't think I was going to purchase any cling stamps or red rubber stamps. I really love being able to see through the block, but there are some images that I really just can't resist, and I know that I'm going to use them again and again. And I'm finding that they stamp up absolutely beautifully. I'm going to stamp my title first so that I know exactly how much room I've got at the bottom here. I haven't decided on a specific title for this layout, so it might just stay with this sentiment here. Some views are worth every step. I think this sums up our hike adventure that we had. And now I can go in with my cling stamp here, and I know exactly how high up I can go. I want them at the base of here so I can see where the edge of my piece of paper is, and I'm purposefully doing it so that some of the trees are off the edge, and I love how that looks. So that one is going to tuck under this photo here. I'm just going to bring that in like that. So that sentiment, some views are worth every step, are from Change of Scenery, an old Close to My Heart one. I am bringing in quite a few Close to My Heart stamp sets for this page because I don't have a lot of travel stamp sets yet with Stampin' Up. I did buy a really gorgeous world map one that's like a whole background type stamp, and I can't wait to use that. I'm probably going to use that on the cover of this album. So I've got this piece to lay under here, and then I'm going to try and do something a little bit brave. So I had a lot of messing around with this. I've done a lot of playing. I couldn't quite decide what embellishments I wanted, and I just felt like along the base here I needed to put something extra. I have this Forever Forest, and I've got the coordinating dies. So I ran some of these dies through my die cutting machine, and I was going to put them along the bottom here, but I think they're designed really to do some layering. I need to do a little bit more research and have a look online and see how people have used these, because I didn't really love how this was looking. It needed to be built up more, but I didn't want to put really large trees on here. I wanted it a little bit more subtle. What I am going to do is stamp directly onto the wood paper. Now I did a little bit of a test onto one of the offcut pieces, so I'm hoping this is going to work on camera. Now I'm going to move this up a little bit, bring in my scratch paper here and mask off this bottom. I want to stamp some of these across the bottom here. And I've got my black ink, and I tried doing this with the mocha, but it really didn't stand out at all. So now I'm going to do it with the black. I'm going to come up just a little bit. Sorry if my head's in the way. I'm going to stamp this direct on the page and cross my fingers that this works. So I'm just leaving it here for a little while so that the ink absorbs. And I really love how that looks. I'm going to get a Post-it note. I need to push this up just a little bit more. So I'm just going to mask this one off so that I don't stamp over that. I'm going to mask here as well. Now I'm hoping that I can get 3 trees in this section, and I think that'll work just fine. I do need to get my head over this, so I will edit that piece out. I think that should be about right. I just wanted to extend it to go across this area. I quite like just a little grouping of those there. So now I'm just going to repeat that for this left side, and then I've got some embellishments I'm going to bring in. I'm really happy with how that stamping looks. It works so well on the wood paper, better than I thought it would. So I'm glad I chose this wood paper and not the really dark one. I did want to bring something into this area, and this is just subtle enough, and I think it works really well. Now I've got a whole heap of little elements here that I have been stamping to add. I don't really have any stickers or anything left anymore, so I do need to look at my stamp sets and bring those in. And I love that I've got a heap of travel ones in my stash that I can use. So I'm going to use these two little tickets here, and they're from Are We There Yet Borders. This Here's the Story is from an old Close to My Heart album retreat. This Picture Yourself here is from another album retreat. And I've used this scene here with the mountains. When I got these, I never really thought that I would use these sort of trees and things like this. But with this vacation, it's just perfect to have these little sets. And it was a buildable one. So picture yourself here, scene of the day. It's surrounded by the tent and the trees. Now, I really love the trees, but we didn't go camping. So I put this stamp in the middle of that. And I'm thinking that might be a good one to put. I'm not sure if I'm going to put it there or there. And this is one of my all-time favorite travel sets, Adventure Badges. So I've cut those, I've stamped them onto this same cardstock here, and I've stamped them in a variety of pine ink and mocha ink, and I've gone around the edges with my blending tool. And I think what I'm going to do is just group these. I might cut that one just a little bit. Actually, I think I'll put the green one down here, the mocha one over top. So I'm going to need to put a little bit of foam tape under these sections here to support it. And then I'm going to mimic that over this side, but it's going to be balanced out. Rather than having two items here and two items here, I'm going to put this one down in this section here. And I'm going to tuck this one, Welcome to the Wild, and then the compass one over top of that again. I'm not sure if I'm going to put dots or anything on here. I do have these ones, the Adhesive Back Sparkle Gems. So I'm just going to take this out and see if I think they're going to work. Maybe these darker ones would work. Actually, I quite like those with it because it brings in the depth of the wood. So I'm just going to take one off and just sit it there lightly. I'm not going to press that down. I quite like those, so I'm going to commit to that, and I'm going to put just 3 in each area. And sometimes with the larger ones, you can tuck them underneath. Although with Stampin' Up, I've noticed that the largest dots aren't as large as what the Close to My Heart ones were. So that's quite good, I think. So there we have it, my double page spread. There was a lot of thinking and pulling out of stamp sets behind the scenes with this one. I actually used 6 different stamp sets on it just to get my completed result, but I'm really happy with how this looks. And I'm going to bring in my little 6x8 piece here. And that's going to sit about here. If you remember back at the almost beginning of the video, I was lining up where this should go. And I really like how that's looking. On this one here, I decided to do a stamp with this compass here and put it over this section of the photo. And the beauty of having a little tag here is that I can double this tag up. Because I've used foam tape, I've got plenty of room to add more than one tag, and I've got enough paper to create another one as well. So I can add to that if I decide that I need to tell more of the story. I do find sometimes when I'm typing things that I tend to do a lot more of the storytelling, and this was such a fun moment with all of these hills and steps and climbs and descents that is well worth documenting. So I will put the name of where this is. It's called Lynn Canyon. So if you're ever in Vancouver, I highly recommend going out, doing a hike. Don't just do the suspension bridge. Go for a little walk along the trails. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, happy crafting, and I hope to see you next time. Bye for now.